Mr. Anil Jutram, who's with us. We want to thank as well, joining us, some of us joining us online virtually, the councillors and aldermen of the Mayaro Rio Claro Regional Corporation. I neglected to mention that we are in fact streaming live and we do have a virtual audience. At the head table we have Ms. Esme Rollins-Charles, the chairman of the Eastern Regional Health Authority, and I also welcome members of the board of directors who you will meet more intimately in a little while. We do have some of them present virtually as well as in person. A special welcome as well to Ms. Valerie Aline Rollins, chairman of the Southwest Regional Health Authority, with us in the audience, physically present with us. Thank you for journeying all the way to the Northeast to be with us this afternoon. We welcome, of course, again, the CEO of the Eastern Regional Health Authority, seated at the head table, Mr. Ronald Sawyerfat, and the managers and staff of the ERHA. To all of you present with us, as well as residents of the communities we serve, all our stakeholders, members of the media, we welcome you. I'm also advised that we have with us representatives of the Northwest Regional Health Authority. Thank you again for coming to be with us this afternoon. The last time we sat or listened or gathered for a public board meeting, it was just over a year ago in January of 2021. So it really is a pleasure to be here this afternoon. We do have some other invited guests who we expect to join us, if not in person, virtually, and we welcome everyone. We hope to have a productive meeting this afternoon. While we get going with today's proceedings, we would like to pause as we enjoy the ERHA theme song, created, delivered, produced by members of the ERHA. Let us listen. And you can look at the screen.
We are the ERHA, care and compassion. My vows to you, the Eastern Regional Health Authority, ERHA Group. It's been over 20 years we have been serving. ERHA cares, professional and constantly improving.
Comprehensive range of service in our community space.
We are the ERHA, care and compassion are my vows to you, the Eastern Regional Health Authority, ERHA Group. From Matlock to Valencia, Sangre Grande and Toco, ERHA cares. Guayari, Rio Claro, Beach and Mayaro, ERHA cares.
Wellness is our business. Caring is the key. I am proud to be of service with my ERHA family.
We are the ERHA, care and compassion are my vows to you, the Eastern Regional Health Authority, ERHA Group. We are the ERHA, care and compassion are my vows to you, the Eastern Regional Health Authority, ERHA Group. We are ERHA.
It's really a pleasure looking at that video presentation, and it's even more pleasure that it is the ERHA, Caring is the Key, live and in action. We want to thank everyone in that video who participated both in the rendition of the song and in the production of the video. It's something we're very proud of, and we thank everyone who had part to play in that. I would like to now move to the introduction of the board of directors, starting, of course, with our chairman. You may wish to pay attention to the screen, and images will be shown. This is to accommodate those who are also joining us online. Unfortunately, some of our members are marooned with some floodwaters in Mayaro, and we know they are following with us right now, so we go right into the introductions. Ms. Rollins Charles brings a vast amount of experience in public sector management and leadership to the authority. She has served in the capacity of Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Arts and Multiculturalism, Sports and Youth Affairs, Planning, Housing and the Environment, and Housing. Ms. Rollins Charles has been appointed to the Ministry of Health by the Ministry of Health as a chairman of the board of the ERHA with effect from December 23, 2015, and was further appointed to continue in this capacity from the 17th of March, 2021. Next we have Ms. Gloria Andrews, Director. Ms. Andrews has worked her way up the nursing field from registered nurse to district nurse, primary care nursing manager, and manager regional nursing. She's also licensed with midwife. She has over 40 years experience in the nursing profession and has been appointed by the Ministry of Health as a member of the board with effect from December 23, 2015, and further appointed in this capacity from 17th of March, 2021. She is appointed as the nursing representative for the authority. Ms. Barbara Punch. Ms. Barbara Punch, our next director, has a master's degree in education and is a tutor with the University of the West Indies Open Campus. She has been appointed by the Ministry of Health as a member of the board of the ERHA with effect from December 23, 2015, and further appointed from March 17, 2021. My apologies. Director Lucy Torres, who brought us the invocation, is an advocate of sustainable agriculture and has been a livestock farmer since 1972. She has been appointed by the Ministry of Health as a member of the board of the ERHA with effect from February 20, 2018, and was further appointed to continue in this capacity from 17th of March, 2021. Additionally, Director Torres has been appointed to serve in the capacity of representing the public interest and welfare in the authority. Director Avin Moonan. Mr. Moonan served as an alderman at the Mayaro Rio Claro Regional Corporation. With his local government experience, he strives to assist the community and country through economic and social development. He has been appointed by the Ministry of Health as a member of the board of the ERHA with effect from December 23, 2015, and further appointed in this capacity from 17th of March, 2021. He has been appointed to serve as a representative for local government in the authority. Ms. Sarah Mutu Charles, who's with us in person. Ms. Mutu Charles has a Bachelor of Science degree honors in Management Studies and aims to utilize her knowledge and experience to impact the holistic development of her country. She has been appointed by the Ministry of Health as a member of the board with effect from December 23, 2015, and further appointed from March 17, 2021. Next we have, no stranger to most of us here, having just emerged and still going through the COVID-19 pandemic, Dr. Michelle Trotman. Dr. Trotman has numerous experiences where she worked under several medical departments in the United States of America. She was and is part of the COVID-19 National Response Team and provided support to the Health Minister, Minister Terrence Yalsing. She has been appointed by the Ministry of Health as a board member for the ERHA with effect from February 21, 2018, and further appointed from March 17, 2021. Director Dr. Trotman has been appointed as a medical representative for the authority. Dr. Trotman has also recently received the national award, the Shakonia Medal Gold. We congratulate her. Thank you for your service. Also, no stranger, we have Dr. Miriam Abdul Richards. Dr. Abdul Richards has been appointed by the Ministry of Health as a member of the board of the ERHA with effect from 17th of March 2021. She earned her medical degree at the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine Medical School, and has a master's degree in family medicine also from the University of the West Indies. Dr. Richards is the acting principal medical officer in charge of institutions and was also part and still remains part of the COVID-19 media briefings supporting Health Minister Terence Dialsingh and the Chief Medical Officer Dr. Roshan Parasram. Dr. Abdul Richards is also a National Award recipient of the Shakonia Medal Gold, and we congratulate you. Dr. Richards, she's with us in person. Thank you. And I am going to navigate today's ceremony, public board meeting, as your master of ceremonies. My name is Sasha Darbo. I am also a director of the board and deputy chairman. I was appointed by the Ministry of Health as a director with effect from December the 5th, 2016, and was further appointed as deputy chairman on the board from February 21st, 2018, and appointed in the same capacity from the 17th of March, 2021. I serve as the legal representative of the board, having been a member of the legal profession and practicing law since 1998. Over my career of over 20 years, I have served in several professional capacities within the public and private sector, and it is my pleasure to be here with you this afternoon. I must apologize for the heat, which I am also feeling, but bear with us. We now would like to invite to the podium to bring greetings and to provide some valuable information our chairman, Ms. Esme Rollins-Charles. Let us welcome our chairman.
Mr. Anil Juturam, Chairman of the Sandy Grande Regional Corporation, Councillors and Aldermen of the Sandy Grande Regional Corporation, Councillors and Aldermen of the Miaro Rio Claro Regional Corporation, Ms. Valerie Allen Rollins, Chairman of the Southwest Regional Health Authority, members of the Board of Directors of the Eastern Regional Health Authority, Mr. Adrian Mulrain, representative of the Northwest Regional Health Authority, managers and staff of the Eastern Regional Health Authority, residents of the communities we serve, stakeholders, members of the media, good afternoon all. On behalf of the Board of Directors, the Chief Executive Officer, and staff of the Eastern Regional Health Authority, I wish to welcome you to our public board meeting. I am Esme Rollins-Charles, Chairman of the Board of Directors. I thank you for attending this public board meeting, and I look forward to your important contributions as we always seek to improve on the standard of healthcare and service in the Eastern region. Your presence here today indicates that you are committed to partnering with us at the ERHA to deliver accessible, quality health care that is focused on the needs of the population and in particular of our immediate community. Ladies and gentlemen, the ERHA is fulfilling its obligation to you with the hosting of this public board meeting held in accordance with Rule 12 of the second schedule of the RHA Act No. 5 of 1994. The primary purpose of this meeting is for the ERHA to publicly account for its stewardship during 2021-2022. We welcome the opportunity to review the authority's performance, to present plans, goals, and targets for the current year, and to obtain feedback from you, our stakeholders, which would assist the authority in identifying areas for improvement. In the performance of its duties, the Board of Directors, in conjunction with the Ministry of Health's guidelines and the overall policies and priorities of the government, would have determined the strategic direction for the authority. This strategic direction is linked to the 2030 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, more specifically Goal number 3, which speaks to ensuring healthy lives and promoting well-being for all ages. To fulfill this goal, the board determined the annual and long-term objectives and agreed upon the framework to achieve them. The work of the authority is guided by a robust management system established to improve accountability and efficiency. Performance is monitored to determine whether the stated objectives are achieved and the required corrective actions taken when necessary. We have the responsibility to ensure effective financial stewardship through value for money, financial control, and financial planning and strategy. The oversight and strategic management are administered at the board level through board meetings and committee meetings of the board's 7 committees, namely the Tenders Committee, the Human Resources Committee, Finance and Information Systems Technology, Audit, Legal, Quality Risk Management, Clinical Governance, and Ethics. In conjunction with the management and staff of the ERHA, these committees have provided strategic direction, oversight, and technical guidance to ensure the achievement of clearly articulated strategic goals. This collaboration and teamwork have established us to enhance the quality of health services offered to our community clients, transient, weekend, and vacational visitors to the Eastern region. Our clients access healthcare at the Sandy Grande Hospital, which provides secondary care services, the Miaro District Health Facility, 14 strategically located health and outreach centers, the Sandy Grande Enhanced Health Center, and the Rio Claro Satellite Dialysis Center. Ladies and gentlemen, during the fiscal periods encompassing 2020 to 2022, to ensure the efficient and effective use of available resources to achieve desired outcomes and maximize output, 4 core strategies, which included systems reengineering, cultural realignment, health promotion, and institutional strengthening were employed. Several systems were re-engineered and the exercise to establish performance indicators in relation to the authority's functional systems, processes, and structure commenced. Policies and procedures were developed, including the completion of the review of the RHA Human Resource Policies and Procedures. Under the rubric Institutional Strengthening, significant projects and procedures were undertaken to improve systems and structures, to enhance our delivery capabilities, and to provide a safe and comfortable environment for staff and clients. As many of you are aware, the new hospital is under construction, and you will be given a comprehensive report on the stage of construction and projected delivery date. At the Sandy Grande Hospital, the significant infrastructural improvements undertaken included renovation of medical laboratory, electrical upgrade, and in keeping with the National Trust to move towards true voluntary blood donation, the refurbishment upgrade of the Sandy Grande Blood Donation Center, to create a warming, welcoming space. Equipment was also procured or replaced, including orthopedic drill systems for the orthopedic department, infant incubators for neonatal intensive care, and equipment for the operating theater. In addition, a mammography suite and 2 ultrasound units were installed, and there was improved efficiency of our phlebotomy services through the creation of an additional phlebotomy bleeding station. One of the key institutional projects identified in the government's policy agenda document for national development is the review and strengthening of the primary care system. Health centers and outreach centers play a pivotal role in the delivery of primary health care. Primary health care approach focuses on promoting efficient, equitable, accessible, and cost-effective approaches to address issues and factors which contribute to significant chronic life diseases in our population. As mentioned previously, the authority is responsible for an extensive geographic area in the eastern quadrant of Trinidad and is focused on strengthening our primary care system. To meet the growing demands of the community, the clinic space at the Toko Health Center was expanded and roof replacement projects were completed at this facility, as well as at Kumana and Matlot. The authority continues to build resilience in our rural communities with the procurement of generators for health facilities, the upgrade of electricals at Grand River and Sans Souci, and significant equipment upgrade, including the acquisition of ventilators, cardiac monitors, X-ray machines, and the installation of a mammogram machine at the Toko Health Center. The use of technology is also playing a greater role in improving the services designed to enhance our clients' experience. The authority has implemented, among other things, an electronic outpatient appointment system, telemedicine services for chronic disease patients, and the reintroduction of the PAN Tracker fixed asset audit software. In order to stimulate an atmosphere for high productivity and dedication, it was necessary to strengthen our human resource capabilities and ensure alignment with the culture of the organization. In this regard, the ERHA completed the reconciliation of the authority's establishment exercise, which resulted in 240 cabinet-approved positions being approved and completion of 95% of the recruitment based on approved vacant post funding. Various training programs were conducted to increase the capacity of clinical and non-clinical staff and to ensure the maintenance of acceptable standards. The authority also conducted several safety and health exercises and has ensured that plant and equipment are maintained in accordance with OSH standards. Our vision in the ERHA is to transform the current model of healthcare in the region from one of sickness and treatment to one of wellness. Health promotion is a critical strategy in this transformation, and we must educate, influence, and motivate the population to embrace the benefits of sustaining wellness. Although the COVID-19 pandemic curtailed our ability to interact with clients face-to-face, we were able to adopt alternative strategies to connect with clients. Programs undertaken to improve the quality of life included online school health programs, the ERHA Health and Wellness video services for men's health, and videos entitled My Health is My Wealth, designed to encourage clients to be proactive and focus on their health. The ERHA is on a path towards achieving baby-friendly hospital status and has established a baby-friendly hospital initiative to implement the 10 steps to successful breastfeeding. In the performance of our duties at the ERHA, there is a continued quest for operational excellence. We have adopted an organization-wide management philosophy that quality improvement is the responsibility of every employee. In this regard, We have fostered a quality improvement culture through quality circles, the operations of quality monitoring committees, and sensitization on adverse events. The trials we faced during the last 2 years in coping with the COVID-19 pandemic have taught us that as a community, we can overcome many obstacles and achieve realistic outcomes. The ERHA acknowledges our members of staff as our most valuable resource. We also acknowledge and celebrate the lives of the staff members lost due to COVID-19. I must take this opportunity to recognize and thank all members of staff who worked tirelessly during the trying days of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in particular, the teams of healthcare professionals and the support staff from the ERHA who delivered outstanding healthcare to patients. To all staff who enabled us to operate a parallel healthcare system as we adjusted to the new normal, I thank you on behalf of the ERHA Board of Directors and the citizens of the country to whom you provided such exemplary, caring service. I wish to take this opportunity to thank the CEO, executive management, clinical, and all other staff members of the ERHA family for putting our clients first. It is through your caring and commitment that we have been able to achieve first-rate delivery of healthcare services in the Eastern region. Ladies and gentlemen, the ERHA team remains committed to excellence in healthcare and service to people of Trinidad and Tobago, and in this regard, we continue to serve you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, for that report, that very comprehensive report on the work of the ERHA over the last year. That being said, we would like to now invite to the podium the CEO for the purpose of introducing the management team.
Thank you very much, Director Dabro. And let me, Mr. Anil Jutaram, my good friend and corporate colleague, we are perhaps the two largest employers within the region, and when I say the regional corporation and the ERHA. Councillors and aldermen of the Sangre Grande Regional Corporation, councillors and aldermen of the Mayaro Regional Corporation, Ms. Valerie Allen Rollins, Chairman of the Southwest Authority, our dear Ms. Esme Rollins Charles, Chairman of the Eastern Regional Health Authority, other members of the board of the Eastern RHA, Mr. Adrian Mulrain, representative from Northwest RHA. I see we may have online members of the TTRNA and other people. We also have residents of the communities that we serve, members of the media, all. It is my distinguished opportunity and pleasure to introduce to you. You know, our chairman presented you with the ball play, all the goals that we have scored. Now I want to introduce you to the leadership team that is responsible for those goals, supported, of course, by our board of directors. First, we have Ms. Yolande Benjamin, our General Manager of Finance. Yolande, where are you? You could stand there. All right. We have Sonia Sicharan Raphael, General Manager, Human Resource. Anita Rampal Mohammed is not here at this time. She's on leave. But of course, Giselle Scipio is acting as our General Manager, Legal and Corporate Affairs. Angelina Rampersad Peer, our General Manager, Operations. Angelina. I'm measuring the claps, so I'll know who's the most popular. Ms. Indarde Maharaj, General Manager, Nursing. Michelle Ramnarayan, General Manager, Quality and Risk Management. Alana Best, County Medical Officer of Health. And GM Primary Care North. All right. Dr. Clem Raghubar, County Medical Officer of Health and GM Primary Care South. Clem. Dr. Rajiv Bagalu, our Hospital Medical Director. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very proud of this leadership team that has taken us from position A to position B and enabled us to achieve a lot of the things that we have done over the period under review. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. And once more, we extend our warmest gratitude and congratulations to the management team. Thank you for being here this afternoon. Next on the agenda, we would like to introduce one of the members of the management team, the General Manager of Finance, Ms. Yolande Benjamin, who will report to us on some of the matters that fall within her remit. Let us welcome.
Mr. Anil Jutram, Chairman, Sandy Grande Regional Corporation, councillors and aldermen of Sandy Grande Regional Corporations, councillors and aldermen of the Miriaro Regional Corporation, representatives from the Office of the Member of Parliament, Toko Sandy Grande, Ms. Esme Rawlings-Charles, Chairman of the Eastern Regional Health Authority and Member of Board of Directors, Ms. Valerie Allen Rawlings, Chairman of Southwest Regional Health Authority, Mr. Adrian Mulrain, representatives from Northwest Regional Health Authority, our dear CEO, Mr. Ronald Soyafat, members of the Board of Directors of Eastern Regional Health, members and managers and staff members of Eastern Regional Health Authority, representatives of the community we serve and stakeholders, members of Parliament, of the media, sorry. Welcome to our public consultation. I am going to give an overview of our financial position for the fiscal under review. The Finance Department of the Eastern Regional Health Authority comprises of 3 sections: financial accounting, cost and management accounting, and purchasing and logistics. During the financial period under review, the authority would have operated under abnormal conditions with the COVID-19 pandemic. The authority would have received an approved budget allocation for recurrent and capital development expenditure. In the fiscal period 2021, the authority received recurrent expenditure of $439,866,932 and capital expenditure of $29,419,607. During our media review, we would have received supplemental funding also. We would have received supplemental funding of $39,300,100. Wow. Which was approved, resulting in our recurrent expenditure increasing to $519,167,032 and a capital expenditure of $20,908,917. So the graph you're seeing before you give an overview of our allocations over a 3-year fiscal period. So we would have received an increased budgetary allocation from 2021 of $479 million plus dollars to $519,167,032 in 2022. However, our expenditure would have exceeded the budgetary allocation. Our expenditure for the fiscal ending 2022 was $563,381,455. We would have had funding, as indicated before, for our PSIP projects. The data sheet provided would give a review of what is our funding allocation. So for the past 3 fiscal, 2020, 2021, and 2022, we would have received funding for medical equipment, hospital refurbishment, and physical investment. As you can see in the chart, medical equipment would have decreased to $7,543,550 in 2022. Hospital refurbishment would have also decreased to $7,703,800, and physical investment would have increased to $6,661,568. We would have had over the periods rolled over projects. Rollover projects means that we would have started it in one fiscal and it would not have been completed in that fiscal, so the costs would have rolled over into the next fiscal. So for fiscal 2022, we would have had rolled over projects and we would have received all our funding for those rolled over projects and for our new projects. So actually, in this fiscal 2022, all allocation that was granted for PSIP, the authority utilized all its funds and executed all its projects, which is a great achievement. So for this new fiscal, we have no rolled over projects. So we deserve a round for that. So, as indicated, we would have received all our funding for the fiscal, and we are now able to manage all our projects effectively, and our management team have excellent staff working with us to ensure that we execute all our PSIP and our expenditure within the period. The ERHA had several financial achievements. As we all know, the OPR, Office of the Procurement Regulator, has, because of the new legislation, would have had several guidelines and procedures displayed for us to review. So, as a body, we have reviewed those guidelines with our partnering RHAs and made recommendations to the OPR of suggested inclusions for those documents, which is a total of 45 guidelines, which is an achievement in its own. So we would have had meetings with the Office of the Procurement Regulator, and they would have went through the information that was submitted. So we would have made a contribution to the document overall. We continue to manage our authority assets, both tangible and non-tangible, because our assets is what keeps us floating. We have completed our unaudited financial as at 2020, and it was submitted to the Auditor General, just waiting to be audited. 2021 is also being prepared for submission with 2022. We would have upgraded our general GP system, which is Great Plains accounting software. We would have conducted training sessions with our procurement staff to build their capacity to be prepared for the legislation when it comes. So we're not going to be lagging behind, we are going to be proactive rather than reactive. We also established an electronic management vendor system, plus an electronic goods received note system. Right? So our authority would continue to manage our finances to ensure that we can achieve all goals and objectives that are set and our strategic overall objective as an institution. I thank you and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Ms. Benjamin, our General Manager of Finance, for that comprehensive report on our financial outlook, our financial situation, and all of our achievements. Thank you for your astute management. And I just want to remind everyone present in person and online that there is a public forum at the end of the formal part of the proceeding where you would be able to pose questions, comments, and we can discuss in more detail some of what you're hearing reported to you this afternoon. Next on the agenda, we would like to introduce Ms. Amy Ali, the Commissioning Manager for the new Sangre Grande Hospital. Let us welcome Amy Ali. You can adjust the mic? Yes.
Mr. Anil Jutram, Chairman of the Sangre Grande Regional Corporation, and councillors, representatives from the Office of the Member of Parliament for Togo Sangre Grande, councillors and aldermen of the Sangre Grande Regional Corporation, councillors and aldermen of the Mayor Rio Claro Regional Corporation, Ms. Esme Rollins Charles, Chairman of the Eastern Regional Health Authorities Board, Ms. Valerie Allen Rollins, Chairman of the Southwest Regional Health Authorities Board, members of the Board of Directors from the ERHA, Mr. Ronald Soyafat, Chief Executive Officer of the ERHA, Mr. Adrian Mulrain, representative from Northwest Regional Health Authority, managers and staff from the ERHA, and our residents from the Eastern community and viewing public. Welcome. It is my pleasure to introduce you to the new Sangre Grande Hospital campus. So as you may be aware, there is a massive construction project ongoing for the addition of a new wing for the Sangre Grande Hospital. And essentially, at the completion of this wing, we will have the ability to operate under a campus model of care when we adjoin services to our existing facility. And the intention or the outcome of this integration of services would allow us to not only expand what we offer, but also improve on the care that's given to our community. The intended campus will facilitate an increase in inpatient bed space from the current 144 beds offered to 250 inpatient beds. In addition, the addition of the new wing and integration with the current facility, which will be upgraded, will see expansion of existing services for patients as well as the introduction of new services which are currently unavailable. From the merger into a campus model, we will also see the benefits that are afforded from the ability to upgrade to a teaching hospital status through partnership with our tertiary educational institutions, for example, the University of the West Indies, allowing us the capacity to not only enhance the training at the undergraduate level, but also at the postgraduate level. Also, and very important to the quality of the care we give, or giving us the opportunity to expand and enhance our medical research capabilities. All of these things in combination with our focus on total quality management and our understanding that quality is everyone's business that we all have to be involved with, we will now align our campus to international hospital accreditation standards, taking us to a different level, a higher level, again, giving us the true benefits from this construction project that has just started. So just to give you an idea of where things would be positioned, the image on the screen is an overhead view taken as if you were standing from the eastern side of the compound from Ojo Road. The yellow box represents the existing facility, which is currently made up of approximately 144 inpatient beds. The orange box represents the location of the new wing for the facility, and that wing, additional building block, will add 106 inpatient beds, giving us a total campus capacity for 250 bed spaces. Important to note that as part of the progress towards the campus, we will undertake an integration and renovation project to allow for enhancement of the existing facility so that we get a campus which truly has the same look and feel on the new wing and within the existing area, which will kind of be repurposed to give us focus on zoned services. And I'll explain about that a little further on into the presentation. So we're almost doubling our bed space as we move forward to our campus model. So just to give you a little bit of background or a little bit of insight into the new wing particularly, this new building block will be located in the southwest region of the hospital compound, and approval for the construction of this facility was granted in 2018. Construction itself commenced at the beginning of 2020, and the tentative date for handover of the facility is approximately 1 year from now, so late 2023. Again, that will be here before you know it, so it's really time for all of us to make that push towards the finish line. The new wing is designed in accordance with international healthcare design guidelines and will be fully outfitted with all the furniture, fittings, and medical and other equipment required to promote the services that are going to be offered and introduced. The facility operates on a two-story type of structure. The ground floor will be dedicated for emergency as well as outpatient services, and our first floor will be dedicated towards inpatient care and operating theater services. In addition, the facility will be designed to accommodate certain amenities to improve the environment of care and the client experience. For example, cafeteria spaces, social spaces for comfortable waiting, the introduction of a multi-faith room to allow for, prayer during trying times. And we will also see the addition of landscaped courtyards strategically placed throughout the building block to give us this green feeling, these green spaces that we know are instrumental to the healing process. And the little image at the bottom kind of gives you the intended outlook, what it's supposed to look like at the end of construction. So just to give you a little bit more into what services can be expected within the facility, we are going to see a transfer of services particular to internal medicine and surgical services. So those services in the existing facility are going to be moved over into new spaces. We will also see a significant expansion in the space afforded for the emergency department, and the intention is for that to be at the end of full integration dedicated for adult emergency services. We will see the introduction of 3 additional operating theaters to the campus, and those will be used to largely enhance general surgery, urology, orthopedics, and as well as to introduce ear, nose, and throat specialties, which are at present not available at our institution. The outpatient clinics will also see a significant expansion in space and will be used to focus on internal medicine services and subspecialties such as cardiology, neurology, infectious diseases, gastroenterology. And our surgical services will also expand to cover gen surg, orthopedics, urology, and ENT. That being said, all of these services must be supported by allied health, so we will have expansion of departments such as radiology, pharmacy, medical lab, etc. Aside from the expansion within the new wing, we will see introduction of a few critical services as well. So MRI and fluoroscopy services will be introduced into the diagnostic imaging realm. We will also have pathology services applied, and hydrotherapy, which is a subspecialty of physiotherapy. And again, ear, nose, and throat specialty will be added to the compound. Now, of course, as part of the campus, the existing facility remains a very big component. And as said previously, we will be embarking on an integration and renovation project to allow us to repurpose areas that become vacant during the transfer of services to the new wing, and to zone functions and coordinate the facility a bit better to enhance our use of space, as well as the patient experience and efficiency of workflows. And that is going to be running in parallel to what is going on now, but will be phased across time, because the existing facility will remain live, it will remain functional. So even though some services move out, some services will remain, and we will have to coordinate how we conduct these renovations. So it will be done across time. And just to give an update about the existing facility, which in essence becomes our northern block, we will see pockets of services to kind of look at a functional approach to healthcare delivery. So we will focus on women's health services, particularly with the introduction of emergency department, as well as expansion of inpatient and outpatient services, particularly looking at antenatal, postnatal, and gynecological care. We will also look at the establishment of our specialized zone for child health, looking at emergency services again, outpatient and inpatient care, particularly again for pediatrics, adolescents, and neonatal patients. Oncology services will remain within the existing facility, but will be upgraded to allow for higher capacity for outpatient services and expansion of outpatient chemotherapy services. Additionally, we will see the establishment of inpatient beds specific to oncology patients. Another major element of our integration project relates to our mental health services and establishment of those within the Eastern region. I mean, as you may know at present, if you require inpatient care, everybody has to go down to St. Anne's, and the ministry is on a major undertaking to decentralize the services, and this will allow us to input outpatient services as well as inpatient bed space. Our opthal department will remain in the existing facility and be expanded accordingly, as will our dialysis and blood bank units. Our operating theaters at the existing facility will also now be dedicated to support obstetrics and gynecological care, opthal and same-day surgeries. And of course, as said before, we will require the relevant allied healthcare services to support these initiatives. Now, aside from the physical infrastructural works that must be completed to afford this level of service, we are also cognizant of the fact that quality is really the cornerstone of everything to make this successful. And hence the reason for us really taking a hard look at quality and working towards strengthening of the systems and focusing on the establishment of international accreditation standards, essentially conforming to what is proven to be used by high-level performing hospitals internationally. This is the commitment that we want to give to our community, so that you will trust that when you come to us, you are well taken care of. And that in and of itself will enhance our ability to continuously improve, as well as to motivate our staff and our community to work towards wellness rather than our current illness way of doing things. And just to give you a bit of a visual on where things are, we have a few images, and these images were taken last month. And this, again, the site has a lot of construction going on. There's been a lot of rain and a lot of mud, but you can see that the building envelope is almost completed. And this is an overhead view or an aerial view from the Oja Road side of the compound. And this is another view, again from Oja Road, but looking at the facility from the north. And finally, this is a view as if you were looking from the Hindu school arm of the property. And again, we are making significant progress aimed towards handover at the end of next year. So this kind of marks the first of the initiatives that we will be doing with, particularly geared for members of the community and the public. In addition to this, we have the Sangre Grande Hospital Community Consultation, which is scheduled for next Thursday, starting at 4, from 4 to 6 at the hospital compound to discuss hospital-specific matters. And of course, the new hospital will be part of that discussion as well. We will also be enhancing our public communication strategy, our social media presence, and our media postings. As the facility gets closer to completion and probably at handover, but before opening, we would also like to afford tours for members of the community so they can see the facility and get a feel for it before we actually start services. And last but not least, of course, with all of these expansion activities, we will be required to grow our staff, expand who we have on our team, and employments for opportunity will also come up as time progresses closer to completion dates. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Amy, for that overview of a very exciting project within our region. Aren't you all excited? New Sangre Grande Hospital on the horizon. A year from now, Amy, we're holding you to that. Thank you very much. Very informative presentation. Without further ado, I would like to welcome the CEO to provide his report at this Public Board Meeting 2022. Let us welcome Mr. Ronald Sawyerfat.
Okay, well, greetings and salutations as previously announced. It is my humble, again, experience and opportunity to be able to highlight, because out of all that you've been hearing that the ERHA has been able to achieve, out of all the areas that you hear that we are involved in, we had to continue managing that experience during the COVID-19 experience. And it is with a level of pride that I stand here to say that we have been able to achieve this 100% kind of performance on our PSIP. We have been able to achieve maintenance of services, general services, because while you are putting services into illness, that is with COVID-19, we had also our other patients who were there who needed us. So we were able to balance the scores, all right, to ensure that we provided that. And I'll tell you what, could I change slides? Somebody better give me the thing you know, because, yeah. I hope I don't tie myself up though. All right. This one? Right. Amidst all of that, the authority was able, during the year 2020 to 2021, we were able to achieve recognition in the President's Award for Excellence based on our submission of our dialysis center in Rio Claro project. So while we've been busy, all right? And we went beyond just a certificate of recognition that we won the People's Choice Award for that particular project. We continued in fine fettle, and in 2021, we were again a finalist, all right, in the President's Award for Service Excellence for our delivery of services during the COVID-19 pandemic. So again, we were acknowledged, our commitment and work was acknowledged at the President's Awards in 2021. So I thought we would just run through very quickly the journey that we experienced during that COVID-19 pandemic. Trinidad and Tobago was called into action several weeks after major cities around the world began recording increased COVID-19 cases. Our ERHA, and I say our ERHA because it includes our stakeholders and everyone, made preparations to receive the first 68 nationals from the Fabulosa cruise on March 17, 2020, after the closing of borders. We started the first quarantine facility, leading the national response along with the Ministry of Health for the COVID-19 pandemic. We then started the first step-down facility in Brooklyn, and I locked horns with the chairman of the corporation at that time because the public could not understand COVID-19, all right, and felt a sense of threat. So even though we had engaged, they still felt that sense of threat. And fortunately, after discussions with the chairman of the corporation, all right, he supported, all right, and we surmounted that, and we were able to take care of our people. The second quarantine facility was at the Tacarigua Racket Center, and the second step-down facility was at the Tacarigua Extended Care Unit, and the first mass vaccination site at the Tacarigua Racket Center. So that tells you what the Busy Beavers have been up to in terms of scoring goals. Number of persons that have been housed in COVID-19 facilities, 290. Number of persons housed in step-down facilities, 165. And the number of persons who we vaccinated, 159,358. Let me just tell you a little bit about the journey for us. Incidents, meaning from the first cases, all right, treatment, where we had the step-down facilities and so on, and control, where we had our vaccination program. We based our modeling, all right, because it wasn't just a reaction. We planned and we modeled. We based our modeling on the pillars of our vision in the ERHA, looking at shared vision so that everybody in the ERHA was engaged so they understand COVID-19 and its implications. All right? Focused also then, people focused, staff, clients, communities, MOH, and the RHAs. So our emphasis was on all of those. We took care of staff, we took care of clients, communities. The MOH we worked with closely, and we partnered with our fellow RHAs. And comprehensive quality care, we sought to have systems of care with our infection control and prevention models and so on that were appropriate, safe, and satisfactory during that time. Strategic approach, leadership. As I said, it was based on the pillars of our vision, all right? And what we did is we considered this a disaster, and we engaged our disaster management team coordination model at the EOC at Picton Road, and from there, we ran the response. Some of our managers are probably smiling as they recall the 3 a.m. visits on the road to some of these facilities to ensure coordination and success. We also had sub-EOCs, emergency operating centers, at the 2 CMOs, St. Andrew, St. David, and River Mayaro, and at the hospital, all right, under the HMD, and all of them were staffed by the management teams. Commitment to excellence. And we talked about the first being staff and peoples and so on. So we had 100% staff education on COVID-19. We had staff quarantine after management facilities to reduce fears and confirm health status. In other words, when we started the quarantine centers, we didn't even have to request staff to go. Staff volunteered. And that I call the ERHA spirit. So that when staff served a rotation at a quarantine or other facility, we then put them into quarantine to ensure that they were all right before reintroducing them to family and work and so on. Improved staff and health connectivity. We had stress management, increased sessions for employee assistance program, staff consultations to support and re-engineer, nutrition lectures, mental health lectures, and we did this kind of thing not just for staff, but for the patients at the facilities. Many of the patients at these facilities would have celebrated birthdays and so on, and we virtually joined with them. We would have sent up cakes and virtually, just to make the experience of this unknown illness and its dark threat, because so much, we were hearing about it, to make people more comfortable. Our first, the Balandra facility, was based on an environment of sun, sea, and sand up at Balandra. In other words, the fresh air and breeze of the sea having a curative effect upon our clients. The second facility, all right, was stepped down, was in Brooklyn. And that was developed in a country-style background in Brooklyn, not Brooklyn, New York, Brooklyn right here, at what used to be a home for elderly people with gardening, etc. facilities, so that people could walk out and enjoy, the country atmosphere and that type of thing. We even had laundry facilities so they could do their own laundry, that type of thing. That's at the Brooklyn facility. So we would have encountered some feedback at some point, but we know we provided a high-quality environment. Tacarigua facility, this was again, physical activities such as tennis, walking, and recreation at that big facility there. All right? And I just want to say that recognizing that staff would have been facing this unknown and so on, we spent quite a lot of time ensuring that the protective equipment was there in stock and available for all our staff, all right? And we adjusted and ensured a regular supply for all our facilities to ensure the protection of our staff. We had infection prevention and control training for all frontline staff, implementation of international models of hot and cold zone operations to ensure safety. So when you're working in the hot zone, that's where the COVID patients are. You have certain standards, and then you transition to the cold zone, which provided the transition for you to leave the facility or leave the ward at that time. All right, some pictures here of our staff, all looking like Martians and so on. All right. Commitment to staff morale, we did quite a lot of that, all right, to keep staff going and keep staff, because I used to call some of our managers two hats, where you had to operate whole day looking after COVID and then go home, change your hat, and become the school teacher to your kids, all right, and the housewife and the house husband, etc. So I used to call us two hats. But we tried our best to meet them and to do what we could to ensure that our staff was as comfortable as possible. We did our communication strategy where we kept staff in charge, in touch with everything. We had our ERHA hotlines, we had our social media interventions and so on. Commitment to staff, morale and encouragement, we went all the way to try and boost our staff and to boost our clients as they enjoyed what was in fact a threatening experience. That slide showed some feedback, good news from our clients, some acknowledgements. And then we moved into vaccination. Vaccination sites, mass sites, Racket Center, Sangre Grande Civic Center, Mayaro Sports Facility, Sumer Singh Sports Complex, Brooklyn Community Center, Sangre Grande. And our main vaccination sites at health centers to include Grande Enhanced Health Center, Toco Health Facility, Rio Claro Health Facility, as well as our health centers. And in fact, just let me tell you that before I am proper, you see, I'm not technologically challenged. Eh? Would somebody tell me what happened here? Oh, there we go. So I have to do this and go all the way down, all the way down. Oops. All right. So I was provided with some figures, all right, that we had 11 community vaccination caravans. You all would have seen us moving from Matlot coming down the road, all right, on foot, village to village, door to door, giving vaccines to our people. And vaccination outreaches under shops, parlors, schools, market, etc. We did 135 of those sessions, all right, to ensure that we did our tour with vaccination. Number of people housed, well, we saw this slide before in terms of the quarantine facilities and so on. So that was COVID. And as I said, I thought it best to highlight that response because that response came, as I said, at a very challenging time. And I want to publicly acknowledge our teams, all our staff for what they had been able to achieve. I want to acknowledge the public for cooperating with us and, moving along with us as we traversed the uncertain ground of COVID-19. Let me, in closing, encourage that the ERHA now, as we're coming out of COVID, we have started a re-emphasis on our chronic disease programs, our CNCDs. And we will be having soon a large symposium to go through primary care and to think about the pillars of primary care that we need to enhance and change and do things differently so that we can, in fact, impact the community. But we need to emphasize to the community, as a matter of fact, in our recent public consultations, one person in a particular village area said that they were concerned about the industrialization in the area and explosions and so on. And I was telling that person, listen, our ODPM and our agencies have plans in such areas to control the after effects of any of those kinds of disasters. So I want you to focus not on that explosion, but on the explosion that is coming to your doorstep in terms of poor lifestyles, in terms of chronic non-communicable diseases, as we look at what is happening in our society with cancers, diabetes, heart conditions, mental illness, and so many other things. So I want to invite our community to walk with us as we refocus to be able to strengthen, support, encourage, and move more into prevention, all right, as well as rehabilitation and so on at a primary care level to ensure the continued health, not illness, but health of our communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sawyerfat. We at the board would like to thank you and recognize your stewardship during this last year in leading the ERHA and leading your management team. Thank you for being able to lobby your staff, your stakeholders, and we recognize you and we thank you. Thank you for all the information provided as we journeyed back from that fateful day of March 12, 2020, when COVID-19 reached our shores and the ERHA was called into action to start the process, the response. At this point in the program, we are at the juncture of the open forum. I want to mention again that we do have an audience listening and following virtually. The public forum does have some guidelines which I would outline now. Of course, we are very grateful for all of you being physically here with us and virtually here with us. We thank you for having listened to the objectives and going through the meeting with us in relation to the review of the ERHA's performance for the period 2020 to 2021 and 2021 to 2022. This is your opportunity now to get feedback on the services currently provided by the ERHA and some of the ones that will be provided, as you would have heard and seen, by virtue of the new facility on our horizon. In order to effectively manage your time for this part of the exercise, we would like you to adhere to the following guidelines. Comments and questions from the audience will be entertained at this point, and you would be asked to approach one of the available microphones on the floor. Identify your name, please, your address, what area you're from, and or your organization. This is important because we do document questions and we do provide feedback. As a matter of fact, before I came here today, I asked whether they were all questions answered coming out of the last forum, and the answer is yes. If we don't answer today, we do provide feedback. So it's important for us to document who is asking, where you're coming from, what is your area. We would also like contributions to be limited to 2 minutes so we could effectively accommodate as many persons and contributions as possible. We would like to also remind the members present that the purpose of the public board meeting is not appropriate for any personal grievances. We do have avenues and facilities to accommodate those, whether it's personal, staff, medical, or otherwise. We urge you to exercise discretion as you share anything positive or negative, and if in fact we feel that it's not the right forum, we would advise you accordingly. We also remind you, of course, if you're a staff member, there is a human resource department, and you do have management and other avenues to address concerns. Again, stemming from that, we will not entertain or tolerate any offensive language or references. That being said, we look forward to your meaningful contributions. As we look forward to responding to you, we report to you. This is enshrined in our legislation that governs the RHA, that we must have a public board meeting to allow ourselves to have that conversation, and that is why we're here today. That is why we aspire to do this every year, barring, of course, challenges like what obtained in the last 2 years. So, the floor is open, and we invite you to approach the mic. I would be receiving notes of questions that are being generated online, and once I get that information, I will share it. So it will not be a question known to me alone or on a device somewhere. It will be voiced. And we have someone at the mic. Yes?
Good afternoon.
Sure.
Good afternoon. My name is Salome Raymondville. I'm here on behalf of the Member of Parliament of Toko Sandigrani, Mr. Roger Monroe. And on his behalf, I would just like to say a commendation to the ERHA for all their hard work and all what they have been doing to ensure that the community, all from Atlas all the way back to Mearo, I guess, Guayagua area, that we all have access to good health care, right? We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
My question is though, well, as you know, I work in the office there, and most of all, the questions people ask is if they can get through with our work in the ERHA. So basically my question is that, seeing that you all will be opening next year, that if you all will be giving the people of this region first preference in getting employment there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. It's Salome. I didn't get your last name.
Raymondville.
Raymondville. Thank you, Ms. Raymondville. Thank you for the greetings delivered on behalf of the Member of Parliament. Please thank him on our behalf for sending his commendation. In terms of the question, I will allow the CEO to respond, but I want to remind everyone of the public consultation that will take place on November 10 from 4 to 6. I believe one of the items Amy outlined is opportunities for employment. And of course, as everything else, there is a process, application, procedure, qualifications. And I'm seeing Sonia nodding. She's the General Manager, HR. So I'm not saying anything wrong, Sonia, right? Okay. So CEO, maybe you could answer the question. I'm just introducing the question.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask our GMHR to address the question. If I need to add anything, I will.
I hear it. Just to answer, you asked if they can get a job within the REG. So I've been here for a while, and usually we would have received a request. Once we receive requests from your office, we usually meet with the applicant, and we would go through whether or not they meet the criteria, which criteria they will fit for specific positions. So we do engage them once your office would have sent. And also just to note, we have a question with regards to similarly, with the new Sangre Grande Hospital, the amount of positions that we required and with regards to employment as well. We have asked for approximately 1,110 positions for the new Sangre Grande Hospital, bearing in mind that this requires us to do a recruitment on a phased basis, because some of the services will be introduced on a phased basis. The process for applying for these would be that the positions for the new Sangre Grande Hospital, once approved by, the structures approved by the Ministry of Health and the requisite funding is received, the positions will be advertised, where persons, once they meet the criteria, will be shortlisted and will be subjected to an interview. Again, not all positions would be filled all at once. It will be based on the introduction of the services.
Okay, just to add that that 1,000+ positions that was spoken of would be in a number of different categories. So it would be nurses, radiographers, phlebotomists, doctors, all right? So there's a number of categories. Also, the ERHA has been, over the last couple of years, since, knowing that we were getting this new hospital, we have been engaging with the schools, all right, in the ERHA. As a matter of fact, on the 23rd of November, we're doing a career fair at Swaha, all right, and engaging the schools so that the guidance officers and so on can guide people, telling them of the kinds of careers that are there in health, all right, and making helping people to make choices to go into those areas. We've taken it beyond there, and we've gone into the tertiary institutions also. We've met with Southern Caribbean, the UAE is aware, all right, so that people are aware of the types of careers in health that are available, and people could be encouraged to pursue academic development in those particular areas. All right? So yes, the answer to the question is yes. We welcome having people from the Eastern RHA's catchment become employees at the ERHA. It makes life easier for us because when some floods and something goes on somewhere, we have people on the ground who can get to the facilities.
Thank you, CEO. Thank you. Thank you, CEO. Thank you, Sonia. And I did have a question that I believe has already been answered, and I will read it for transparency. This question had come from Vinesh Lal, and it was, when or how does one apply for positions within the new hospital facility? That has been answered. I'm not seeing anyone else at the microphone now, so I'm going to throw out two more questions that came in online. So CEO, you could field those questions. This question is regarding the construction of the new wing of the hospital. Will the 850 million allocated for the construction and furnishing of the new wing include the proposed renovation of the old? I'll repeat. Regarding the construction of the new wing, will the 850 million allocated for the construction and furnishing of the new wing include the proposed renovation of the old?
Okay. Just to say that the construction of the new wing of the hospital is financed under an international arrangement as different from our local PSIP. So that what our commissioning team has done, led by our GM operations and the commissioning manager, we have established what we would call an integration agenda, all right, using an architectural person to guide. And in phases, we plan to include in our PSIP the development and reorganization of our existing hospital. So the answer really is no. It's not from the 850 million. It is going to come from our PSIP moving forward, but we do have a developmental plan for that.
Thank you, CEO. I saw Chairman Jutram rise, and he is approaching the mic. Welcome again, Chairman. Thank you for being with us.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Dabro. CEO, Mr. Ronald Surfat, Chairman, Ms. Rollins Charles, Dr. Trotman, all the hard-working managers, staff, doctors, nurses, cleaners, lab technicians. On behalf of the people of our region, from Matla to Valencia to Tamana to Mayaro to Sangre Grande, we would really like to thank the Eastern Regional Health Authority for the tremendous work, sacrifice, dedication, commitment, people-friendly service, warmth, the compassion, not only throughout the COVID, but it has continued up until now. And I want to say that I was really proud to see the ERHA taking a stand in 2020 when they had discussions with the regional corporation at maybe March, April, around there, showing us the relevant protocols and what the hospital was doing to equip patients at that time in Sangrani Hospital. So it is really, really heart-rendering. I know we started off at a rough path, as you said, in Brooklyn, but as water under the bridge. And at times we tend to learn from mistakes, you know. Communication is something that once you communicate with a region or with people, they will adapt and buy into it. So I want to compliment you on that aspect of it. You have the support of the Sangrani Regional Corporation, Mr. Surfat and Madam Chairman. Our community is so happy to know that a new hospital will be built, and taking into consideration the opportunities, as you said, when you articulated that people from UV would be coming up here as a model.
Teaching,
yeah.
yes.
And even hearing postmortems and so on will be able to be done at that juncture. It will create a lot of traffic, and it will create a lot of opportunities for the people on the ground. So please continue the good work, and I can tell you from someone in the private sector, I admire, because when you take into consideration into any government-run institution, you know, one tend to look at it as a sleepy kind of zone, but the ERHA, to me, is being handled like a corporate company, and very tight, very professional, and everything is being done in a very professional manner. Your staff is very well trained, and keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's thank Chairman Jutram for those wonderful words of commendation. And CEO, he said it's water under the bridge. I'll call it water under the Brooklyn Bridge.
Let me just say thank you very much again on behalf of the authority to the chairman and members of, the councillors and aldermen and members of the corporation. You have responded to us in times of need, and we really treasure the relationship that is being developed and continues to be developed between us. So I want to thank you for that. Just also to indicate that a number of new services are going to be in this new hospital, all right? And we are trying to move this hospital into the realm of also becoming a teaching hospital, partnering with the university,
yes.
so that you will have more students passing through the hospital, all of that happening. Also, our commissioning team is moving forward in a way that we are hoping to commission the hospital, not just to open the hospital, but to commission the hospital using the international accreditation standards, so that when we do open, all right, we are hoping to try to make our hospital the first accredited hospital, what did you say, Valerie? In TNT. My erstwhile colleague, I can't help but acknowledge her as the director of quality in the ministry for some years ago, when I was at the Ministry of Health also, who did yeoman service and groundwork. And with support from people like Valerie Rollins and others, we are breaking ground to make sure Sangre Grande is going to be #1.
Thank you, CEO. Thanks again, Chairman Jutram. Thank you very much. It's really a place we're very, very proud of, very near and dear to all of us. I do have I recognize someone at the microphone. Thank you. Can you introduce yourself?
Pleasant good afternoon. My name is Althea Pascal. I'm from Radio Toco.
Can you just repeat? Avion Pascal?
Althea
Pascal.
Radio Toco.
Radio Toco. Thank you.
As somebody living in the Toco area, my questions today, based on some of the observations within the area, recent visits, and I applaud the ERHA for that. Recent visits, I've seen that the staff is mostly made up of people who live or reside within the area, and that is really nice to see familiar faces when you go to the health facility. My question is, being an area that is, predominantly within agriculture, Sangre Grande previously was known for its poison department. I haven't seen anything on the agenda relating to that. So my concern is, that's one of the questions, is there a plan to enhance, upgrade, bring back, or anything the poison department at the Sangre Grande hospital, given that agriculture is a main form of, in the Toco area. Another question would have been, I've observed recently that sometimes when you visit the health facility, a number of equipments have been installed, ECG machines, this kind of thing. But there are times you go to the facility and they're not working. So what is in place for maintenance, upgrade, or even training of personnel within the area to be able to deal with this, so that when people visit the facility, they don't have to, again, wait to reach the Sangre Grande to be able to deal with such crucial and critical areas? That's the second question. And if we look at what's happening within the recent months, the roadways are a terrible state. The road is breaking away in so many different places. Maplot, one-lane traffic, Balandra, Motura. These are areas within the recent times that the roads were in, Is there anything being done to probably bring the facility to a state where there isn't, or there is a way that Toko could be self-sustained in terms of situation where the road is a problem, in that you cannot get a patient from Toko to Sangre Grande within a short period of time. So these are the areas I would like to address.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you a lot.
Pascal. Thank you, Ms. Pascal. So you have them. The first one, Poison Center, being primarily agriculture-based region. Some machines that may not be working, acknowledging that there are as well many new ones, and roadways that have rendered some areas inaccessible and making Toko more self-sustainable.
All right, I will handle the last one, but let me ask Dr. Bagalu to handle the first two areas.
So we have Medical Director,
Medical
Dr.
Director.
Rajiv Bagalu, to respond.
Good afternoon, everybody. All protocols observed. So, with respect to the Poison Information Center, the ERHA, and in particular the Sangre Grande Hospital Pharmacy Department, is still the Poison Information Center for the entire of Trinidad and Tobago. So we still follow all the protocols. We are still the ones that other hospitals will call for information. What we've been doing in our discussions with the university recently, we did not have a toxicologist assigned to us because one of the founding members of the Poison Information Center, he had retired years ago, and they had not given us a replacement. But in discussions with the university, we expect that to be resolved soon. Having said that, we are still 100% functional. We treat all poison cases at the Sangre Grande Hospital, and we offer advice to all other community hospitals in the country. With respect to the second question, and also a little bit on the third as well too, we are trying to have all the district facilities, the community emergency rooms, both at Toko and at Rio Claro and Mayaro, to a standard that is acceptable. Now, we can't have all services in all parts of the RHA. It's not feasible. We don't have the staff, we don't have the resources, but we are trying to get all up to a standard where emergencies and the care that we know that we could do in those areas to be safely and effectively met. Having said that, with Toko, we have recently installed, upgraded the X-ray machine, and we have installed the mammogram machine there as well too, which will be fully functional very shortly before the end of the year. We've also started to have outreach programs with specialists from the hospital going to the community areas. So maternal health, so we have doctors, the specialists going out to all the other health centers in the region. Toko is part of that. Rio Claro, Mayaro, all the other areas are also part where the specialists are going out to the patients. There's also a plan in the near future with a child guidance clinic. It had started in 2020, and because of the COVID, had to be put on a kind of a back burner, but it's going to be reinvigorated so that the child welfare clinic will be starting in the community soon. I know Dr. Best is here with me and Dr. Raguba, and they also have plans for the community in terms of getting some of the specialty services a bit more reinvigorated as well too. So I think we are striving to get, as Mr. Soyafat said, to get the ERHA to be fully accredited, but also to give to the clients that we serve the best care we could give with the resources that we have. The second point we talk about the machines not working, that is actually something that has been brought up at most of our community consultations. We do have a biomedical team that is responsible for all medical equipment. There are some policies that we have to review, but with respect specifically with ECG machines, I know they are fully functional. There are some of the bigger machines that require specialists in terms of our biomedical team will not be able to repair, and with respect to the COVID, getting parts into the country, getting Forex, and those things have been challenges. But with all those things, there are policies that we plan to implement soon to try and standardize how we deal with those things in terms of downtime, etc. All right, so I hope that answers all your questions.
Thank you, Dr. Bagalu. Thank you for your question, Ms. Pascal. I hope Radio Toko spreads the good news of this response. CEO, was there anything further? Or I could move on to another question. I do have some online questions coming in.
Yeah, let me just throw in two little things. One, all our major equipment, all right, is covered by service contracts and so on. And the service contracts have built into them a minimum downtime so that we have the responsiveness there. The smaller bits and pieces of equipment that can malfunction from time to time, we try to have replacements and so on, and to ensure that the service is not disrupted. The last quick thing I would say that involves the issue of accessibility in terms of the coastline. Our human resource locator database allows us to know and to be able to redeploy staff closest to where they live, all right, so that we can staff the facilities. As Dr. HMD indicated, we cannot make a hospital in every community, but we can also partner with the community and with the regional corporation to have fast as possible alleviation of any circumstances that would lock us off. All right, and that has been quite successful, and we continue to work together. All right, all our facilities also are covered by a two-way radio system so that we are in constant contact. All right, and we do every day. We have morning and afternoon networks where we speak to each facility, knowing exactly all the conditions that exist at those facilities.
Thank you, CEO. I have a question that may stem from that one. The question from online is, it's from an anonymous person. It is, are there any plans to make any other ERHA facility into a 24-hour facility? I think it's connected to the last question. I think it's connected to the last question in response, so I'd like to just have this one addressed. I'll just repeat it. Are there any plans to make any other ERHA facility into a 24-hour facility? Just for clarification.
I would say no. The thing is that over the years, we have developed a National Health Services plan that rationalized our services. So based on need, our population is about 130,000, and that could double, of course, on a long weekend and that type of thing. But at the same time, based on need, what is happening is that you have the hospitals, right? Around the hospitals, you have also district health facilities in the community, and the district health facilities will provide you with a 24-hour accident and emergency service that is linked to your hospital accident and emergency. Around the DHFs, you have the health centers, again based on the population of the areas, and some of smaller ones are outreach centers. So when a person gets sick in an outreach health center, they can be referred either to the health center first or to the enhanced health center or district health facility to get 24-hour extended medical coverage. And then following that, after triage and knowing how the acuity of the case, they can be transferred to the hospital. But we need to take ourselves away from this concept of having a hospital in every community. All right? And the other thing is what I said in my closing remarks earlier. You have to understand that our epidemiological profile currently leans us towards the cases of CNCDs and lifestyle, so that the community also has a responsibility. So it's not about 24-hour services everywhere.
Thank you, CEO. Moving quickly along, because we do have a few more questions. This question is from Damian Springer. It states, thank you for the informative presentation. I would like to know, with the coupling of the new Sangre Grande Hospital and the existing hospital, will an increased allocation from the Ministry of Health be provided to the ERHA to adequately meet the increased expenditure, especially where suppliers are concerned? CEO or Ms. Benjamin. I'll repeat while you all decide who will respond. Basically, the question is, with the coupling of the new Sangre Grande Hospital with the existing hospital, will there be an increased allocation from the Ministry of Health to adequately meet increased expenditure, especially regarding suppliers? Ms. Benjamin, General Manager, Finance.
In response to the question, we would include an allocation request to the Ministry of Health for the new Sangre Grande Hospital, which would include consumables, HR, and everything in our budget submission, which is done every year. So in March of 2023, we would submit our budget request with a projected figure for the new hospital included in it, which would include HR, consumables, medical supplies, whatever is required for that facility to operate.
Straight and to the point. Thank you, Ms. Benjamin. The answer is yes. There's another finance question, Ms. Benjamin. My apologies. The question is, how was the ERHA able to finance its excess expenses? Were funds taken from the it says PCIP, but it's PSIP, to finance the shortfall?
Yeah. So the ERHA operates not on a cash basis, but on an accrual basis. We have credit facilities with our suppliers, but we account for all expenditure line items in the year which it was incurred. So you would see we would have engaged to purchase medical supplies, but it may not be due right now, but we account for that expense in our books because we use international accounting standards, which is an accrual concept, not cash basis accounting, which I think the person is thinking we only spend with whatever cash we receive, but we cannot operate like such. We have to operate in an accrual concept because of how the funding is received. Secondly, we do not engage in reallocation of one fund, which is intended for PSIP, to a recurrent expenditure. That is not allowable, and we do not engage in such actions.
Don't go too far, Ms. Benjamin. Thank you. I'm not sure if this is for you or the HR manager. This question is, the expansion, I assume it means the expansion into the new hospital, will see the need for how many new staff, and how will this increase the annual expenses for salaries? Basically, new staff, how much will this increase our recurrent expenditure for salaries? Okay, Sonia is coming.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes. So as indicated before, we have approximately 1,100 positions scheduled for the new Sangre Grande Hospital. In doing our submission, the positions are budgeted for and submitted to the Ministry of Health, where we will get the requisite funding. Again, it's being done on a phased basis. So the funds have to be allocated once the positions are approved, and it will come in our vacant post approval for funding for the new Sangre Grande Hospital. So it's separate and apart from what we have existing in our budget.
May I just add a little phrase here? Chair?
Of course, CEO, my apologies,
Thanks.
yes.
No, I was just about to say that it's not really about just approaching the ministry because all the time, because funds are not, all right? The ERHA, we have a responsibility among ourselves, and our management team is aware of this. So we are re-engineering our systems and so on to be able to improve our efficiencies, all right, wherever possible, so that we can reduce that element of demand burden that we talk about. Yes, new services will have to be funded, but at the same time, it's not just about more money, more space, and more people. It's about what can we do differently, all right, to be able to ensure that the national kitty is not. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. So far we've heard about a new facility, we've heard about new staff, expenses, and how we are going to address that. We do have two medical-related questions. The first one, coming from our listening audience: will the ERHA be starting the general practitioner service, and will this service be available at all facilities? This question was posed by Andrea Hernandez. Will the ERHA be starting the general practitioner service, and will this service be available at all facilities?
Dr. Bess.
So we have Dr. Bess coming to the podium.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the question. The answer is yes, the general practitioner services will be resuming within the ERHA. The service will be available at 8 of our facilities in Nariva Mayaro, the Guayari, Beach, and Brothers Road facilities will have the GP service resume. Within County St. Andrew, St. David, the health centers included in Matura, Manzanilla, Camuto, Valencia, and Grand Riviere. When this service resumes, however, it will be different from what obtained previously. Only the Valencia Health Center will be offering a daily extended hours service. The other facilities will have selected days in which the GP service will be offered. In addition to seeing acute cases, persons with acute illnesses, we also want to leverage this extended hours service to help tackle the growing chronic disease element that we have within our communities. And so we hope to be able to offer small numbers of appointments for persons with chronic disease conditions within these extended hours, so as to make our services more readily available for the working public to be able to have their clinical needs met at the primary care level.
There's a second question, maybe for Dr. Bess to respond to, and this question is posed by Esther Surratt. Does the ERHA have a depression support group, and where can one go for assistance with depression? Very, very pertinent question.
Thank you. So we do acknowledge the growing burden of mental health issues, and as primary care, we are well poised to help persons in this regard. At the moment, we do not have a depression support group, but certainly members of the public can visit their local health center and make an appointment to speak with one of our medical social workers as the first port of call, or more typically, someone may have an established appointment at another clinical setting, whether it be the antenatal clinic or the chronic disease clinic. You are more than welcome to flag to the doctor or nurse that you are interfacing with at that point that you have an interest in having this mental health issue addressed, and we will make the necessary referrals to assist. Additionally, if within the wider community there is a group, so for example a village council, that recognizes within their community there is an issue, our primary health care team is more than happy to come out to, for example, the village council and do sessions as required. And so please feel free to connect with us at the health centers, and we will look at all the avenues that can be utilized to assist in this regard.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bess. We have a question, anonymous question, and that question is, what number can the public call for the authorities' ambulances to be used to bring them to the hospital? Again, what is the number the public can use to call for an ambulance from the authority to take them to the hospital? CEO?
000. Let me just clarify this because it has come up at some of our community consultations. the government of Trinidad and Tobago has contracted a supplier to provide ambulance services for taking people from their homes to the hospitals and so on. The few ambulances that you see associated with the regional health authorities are ambulances that are there primarily to transfer inter-facility. So if a person is in Toko and needs to get to Sangre Grande Hospital, that's what those ambulances are for. Now, just to let you know that the contract with GMRTT specifies response times, all right? And GMRTT can be held to those response times. I recently raised this situation, and in fact, we now have a new ambulance authority board, an ambulance authority. And that ambulance authority will be looking at the performance management issues to ensure that we're getting value for money from the national contracted supplier of ambulance services. Notwithstanding, I can say that in the ERHA, because of the rural nature, all right, of our communities, if we have a serious accident that occurs close to Toko Health Center, for example, all right, and we have an ambulance available, we will. The PCP2 is authorized in such circumstances to allow the ambulance to respond, all right, for a collection of, in that emergency situation. But we cannot allow this to run away and become part of the daily occurrence, because when your relative is in Toko and needs to come to Sangre Grande, I can't tell you I don't have an ambulance because it gone to somewhere, Otahiti, to pick up somebody in their house. We can't do that, all right? There is a provider that has been contracted by government to do those types of transport. We do inter-facility transport. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. And that question, as CEO said, has come up many a time, and I think he knows that response by heart. It really is the position. We must always remember the authority is incorporated and must be governed by the statute that governs its operations, its everything. We have another question, which I believe is the final one.
811 is the number for GMRTT.
Thank you, CEO. 811 to call the authorized contracted ambulance service, GMRTT, 811. We do have a second question from Damian Springer from our virtual audience. And I think this is the last question. Mr. Springer is asking, with respect to the planned expansion of oncology services, what plans are in place for the acquisition of medical diagnostic equipment and solutions to support same? With respect to planned expansion of oncology, Dr. Baglu, I don't need to repeat.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. So the expansion of medical diagnostics is actually applicable to most services, not just the medical oncology. So at New Hospital, we are going to get services that was not available at the Sangre Grande Hospital. So we're going to get, first of all, an MRI machine, which is actually one of the biggest news that we've had in the RHA for a while. We're also going to revamp our fluoroscopy services, right? We would be expanding on our echocardiography services. We would be expanding on our endoscopy services. So all in all diagnostic equipment will be either revamped or we will be getting new equipment. One of the things that I've been pushing for, and CEO has been backing me all the way, is to try to get a cath lab to help our cardiac and interventional radiology patients, which will also go a long way for the oncology patients. And we are hoping that the ministry will just do the final aspect of it. We have already done a lot of the groundwork behind it. So that will also be one of the biggest news for us once it's approved. So to answer Mr. Springer's question, the diagnostic services will be available. The lab, in terms of reagents, we have already looked at the the increase in the numbers, and that is also being catered for. We've also wrote and gotten the justification for new tests to be done. Someone mentioned before the pathology service. That is something also that will be new to the ERHA, and it goes more than just postmortems. It will also involve processing of our own biopsies, our own surgical specimens. So all in all, I think we're in a good position moving forward, and come next year, 2023, 2024, I think the ERHA and the patients of the Neriva, Mayaro, and St. Andrew, St. David catchment areas have a lot to look forward to. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bagalu.
A brief add again.
See you.
Just a brief. In the case, we hear a lot about hospital equipment in terms of diagnostics. But in the case of primary care, all right, we are moving back into the model of what we call point-of-care testing, where we will be enhancing the diagnostic testing equipment, all right, in our facilities outside for more rapid diagnostics, all right, and to be able to, to respond more effectively to the cases that present out in the health centers and so on. There's also the PAX risk kind of state system that will allow us to share, which we're already doing in some cases, medical lab reports, radiology reports, and so on at all our facilities, so that your diagnostic report, when you take an X-ray in Toko, all right, that it will be reported on maybe from Sangre Grande or somewhere else, but the report comes back to Toko, to your facility, in quick time, so that there's the equipment, but there's also the infrastructure to support communication, all right, and the expansion particularly of our primary health care point-of-care testing. We have to be able to do our HbA1cs and so on right there at our facilities.
Thank you, CEO. I see one more question from Ms. Pascal. Approaching the mic. Ms. Pascal, just bear with me. If there's anyone else who is interested in approaching the mic, now is a good time to stand so we could have an idea. We're about to bring a close to the public forum. So, Ms. Pascal.
Pleasant good evening again. Congratulations and good job on the ERHA with dealing with COVID-19. It was an area that I'm sure we probably wasn't even prepared for or looking for. I've never heard of a pandemic in my time. So, congratulations. Having heard all the information and all the steps taken, upgrades done and things, I was looking for probably a more personal perspective from the ERHA on what you think about your approach to the pandemic. Now, we have a lot of statistics on what's been done. How does the ERHA feel about their efforts during this period of time? And do you think you are better prepared to deal with another situation if it so arises? And what would you change if given the chance to do that?
Thank you for the question. CEO, I don't know if you want to take this, but I feel...
A nurse.
Sorry?
One of our nurses.
One of the nurses, and CEO, I feel I want to call out one of our directors, perhaps one of the COVID response team members, or both of them. I just feel it's emotional. For me, I could say it was emotional. Chairman Jutram spoke about sleepy health or public institutions, and it's quite the opposite. It was a sleepless period, even for board members. We sat until after 10 one night preparing responses for assisting the team to present to the public. I remember that. So I think everybody would have a different perspective, but I don't know if Dr. Trotman, Dr. Richards, any of you or both of you, I would be very happy if you could share with us a perspective. Thank you so much. And of course, one of our nursing staff as well.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. all protocols observed. The experience of the pandemic is one which cannot be captured in words. For each individual, for each RHA, and certainly for the ERHA, the experience is individualized. For me, my perspective as being a part of the ERHA, I think that the response for the ERHA was phenomenal, as was that of the country. Really leaves not much else to say. I always reach out to the health team. They are the heroes on the ground. I thank them. And I send my condolences to all who have lost during the pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Trotman, one of our nursing staff, and then we would, of course, invite our chairman to share with us her reflection on. Everybody could approach the mic, we have space. This is a very important question. Thank you, Ms. Pascal, for that question.
So I would also help Jasodra in this. So again, as Dr. Trotman said, everything has to be personalized. So I would let you know from our point of view. I know Jasodra and Rachel is a bit shy, but they could contribute and they could chip in as well too. So in respect to the healthcare workers on the forefront, and that goes beyond the doctors, the nurses, it also went to the attendants, the wards maids, the laborers on the ground who had to help clean afterwards. First of all, it was frightening. No one expected a pandemic, and no one expected it to reach us that quickly and to spread that quickly. So the first thing that came to most of our minds would have been fear. We had a lot of the staff that, out of fear, were kind of reluctant to take part, unreluctant to take part. But I think with education, the ERHA staff especially would have risen to the forefront. The nurses especially, have to give them a lot of credit. The emergency room nurses, the primary care nurses that led the first response for the step-down facilities. As Mr. Soyapat said, we didn't have to strong-arm them. A lot of the persons did it out of their love for the patients and what they knew was happening with the pandemic as well too. As it got more into it, it became a frustrating part of it as well too. Dr. Trotman will attest to that, the amount of nights, all 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, I have to call her to try and get a bed for an intubated patient. So it became frustrating. It also taught a lot of us to deal with death in a large scale. It also taught me, having seen some of those patients, and one of the first things that I always tell people when we had to keep intubated patients at Grandy, one of the first persons that I actually saw that we had to intubate was a pastor, who 2 days before begged me that he doesn't want to die. And 2 days later was intubated. We tried our best, 3 weeks, but unfortunately succumbed. So I could speak of my experience. I know a lot of the nurses had that. A lot of our nurses, doctors have PTSD from this event. So it is a trying time. The question, if we are better able to respond, definitely. If we could do it again, not right now. I don't think any of our staff are mentally capable to go through that again, and I'm being very honest, I don't think they could manage. I don't think the staff could manage at this point. So just Sodra, Ms. Stedman, Ms. Bassano, anything you want to add?
Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to add the first day, March 18th, 2020, when I first got that phone call from our regional nurse manager to have nurses be sent to the Balandra facility. Working in the county, it was a really heartbreaking and touching experience to have to call your staff and ask them to go out there to deal with the unknown, something that we as a country did not really have that exposure to. It was one of the most fearful experience, but from staff's experience, if they were asked to do it again, especially our first set of nurses, they will again. And it was really a hard journey for all of us, for the nurses of the emergency rooms, ICU, our facilities, our step-down facilities. It was really, really a hard journey. And we are here, we are standing, and we thank God for that.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to touch on it on a personal base because I was able to work within different sections of COVID in terms of the step-down facility, in terms of our accidents and emergency department, and also aiding or assisting Couva Health Facility in the ICU. I would tell you that because when you reach all those levels, you understand our community and our country better. We had a lot of patients that needed our help. And I saw in terms of our nursing care where we got patients who were positive, COVID positive, and they had our support in the step-down facility. And they were able to recover within the 2 weeks. And that's one of the lessons that I learned, that the patients or the community out there needed our help. They needed strong forces to be able to stand up with them at that point in time, and even to encourage them during the crisis period to understand their symptoms and allow them to know that we are with them so that they could overcome the symptoms. We had those in the Couva facility, especially the ICU unit, who some were not as fortunate as the step down. And you had to actually work with those patients, and those were the critical patients that passed in Trinidad and Tobago. You had to work with their relatives who actually felt the hit of COVID-19. I mean, when we looked at the numbers in Trinidad and Tobago, each one of us may have been touched by some member or some friend that would have passed on. And it's not just a life lesson that we could put behind our head. It's something that we would have to live with for the rest of our life, because we would have had that person who was there, diagnosed with COVID, to succumb to it. And we have their families or friends, or even our personal families that we still record up to today. You know, if it wasn't for COVID, they would have still be around. In terms of life lessons, I believe we are more prepared to go forward because we would have achieved so many mountains in terms of knowing our resources, in terms of knowing how to prepare for a crisis, in terms of being able to put facilities, put equipment in place, put staffing in place. So if we are hit again in the future, we don't wish to be, we would be prepared. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm speaking on a perspective from the hospital. When Nurse Mirage would have made that very dangerous call to us, we had to stand as one body, one team. And at that, we would have recognized the pillar of health where nursing and medicine treated each one without any prejudice. All the nurses, all the doctors, and the team that we developed and treated in the ECU, our step-down facility, were new nurses, green nurses, seasoned nurses, and everyone was there feeling hurt, feeling pain, being fearful, experiencing loss. At the end of it, it was really very challenging. However, to deal with it again, we have made mountains because we challenged ourselves to do the staffing in very different ways, and we succeeded. We challenged our nurses to stand up, and they volunteered. It wasn't where you pushed the staff. The staff volunteered. And the whole team, where nobody was treated with Mr. this, Mr. that, it was a patient, and everybody was treated with equally. At the end of the day, if we had to do it again, as much as we do not want to do it again, we have learned, and we will improve on what we have done, because we would have had a lot of post-mortems of COVID. We would have done discussions, we would have done where staffing would happen, how we would get equipment, how we would get resources. And the whole team really was a well-oiled machine. And I cannot thank the nursing staff and the medical staff enough, and the management team for accommodating all the supervisors' calls at all hours of the night, all hours of the morning. We still do. And yet still, we still have our nurses in an isolation area working from the A&E. So COVID has slowed down for us. It hasn't really stopped. We still maintain all protocols, all policies regarding COVID. Thank you.
Good afternoon again, everyone. I am the General Manager, Nursing. I stand today as a proud employee of the Eastern Regional Health Authority. I'm more proud to say that I have 41 years service in the nursing profession, starting from the bottom of the ladder to the top. I am so proud to be a part of the ERHA. COVID-19 would have affected every aspect of life across this globe. And of course, healthcare workers had to deal with it with so much fear and uncertainty. In addition to what Dr. Badalu would have said, and my nursing staff here, I just want to say, as the General Manager nursing, it was not easy. I learned to deal with little or no sleep, and to have to answer and then ask your staff if you're willing to come out, if you're willing to leave behind your family, your children, your husband, your loved ones, and go out to those step-down facilities. And then came the vaccination drive, and we were able to get from our clerical persons, everybody. And so, again, I just want to say, it has taught us a whole lot. Life is uncertain, and coming with it, it could change in a minute's time. I too had my personal experience. I lost a brother, a younger brother, and just thinking about it, it hasn't been easy. But as I say, the ERHA came out shining. Everybody stood up there for each other. So we thank God to be a part of this.
Toko, you get more than you bargained for.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. What I want to say is very simple. I want to say thank you to all the members of staff of the Eastern Regional Health Authority. They really rose to the occasion. From that day when Mr. Soyafat told me that we have to open a center in Balandra, and then we rolled on to Brooklyn, and then we rolled on to Tacarigua, and then we rolled on to up in El Dorado there where they had a center, right? And all I was asking them, you know, where we getting the staff, where you getting the resources, where you whatever, but they got it. The staff came, the staff performed admirably, and you know what's the nice thing with the staff? They had a personal touch, with those patients, right? And the other thing that the ERHA, they haven't spoken about is how they used to call patients who were at home and engage with them, right? I know people who call the patients at home, and those patients were so happy to think that someone was calling and checking in with them. The people who got the vaccinations, the ERHA had a policy of calling you the day after to find out how you were feeling after the vaccination. And people told me personally, they felt important. They felt as if, you know, this was something. This was the ERHA at its best. That's all I can say. And I want to thank all the members of staff of the ERHA, from the doctors, the nurses who really had it very difficult, the support staff, the administrative staff, and I want to big up the CEO for his input in this whole.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Not to break with protocol and speak after the chairman, but I was actually working in the ERHA doing an interview when we got news of patient 0. We were at an interview, and it was near and there because the patient 0 was a parent of the school my children were at. So I was going through my own fare, but in ERHA working, trying to ensure we had everything in place, preparing and wondering when would this day come. That was March the 12th. This was not part of our program, what you just witnessed and participated in, but it will stay with us forever. And we want you to spread the good news of what we experienced today. This was an amazing public board meeting. We do have, unfortunately, to bring it to a close, I think we've covered a range of issues in the public forum. I want to really thank everyone who participated, from the online audience and the physical audience. We covered facilities, infrastructure, medical, clinical, staff, resources, expenditure. We pretty much covered a board meeting in a public board meeting. I really want to thank everyone. I want to invite Director Mutu Charles to deliver the vote of thanks.
Chairman of the Regional Corporation, Sangre Grande Regional Corporation, Mr. Arnold Jutram, and members of his council. Ms. Esme Rollin Charles, our Chairman of the Eastern Regional Health Authority. Ms. Valerie Allen Rollins, Chairman of the Southwest Regional Health Authority. Mr. Adrian Mulrain, representatives from the Northwest Regional Health Authority. Mr. Ronald Sawyerfat, our Chief Executive Officer of the Eastern Regional Health Authority. Managers, staff of the Eastern Regional Health Authority, members of the media, members of the listening and public audience, good afternoon. Allow me the opportunity to say thank you. And before I go further, the previous session would have given us so many things to be thankful for. So we want to thank Almighty God for this opportunity to come here today, to have a very successful public board meeting, and to share in the sentiments of our dear staff and colleagues. To the members of staff who rendered our national anthem, thank you. To my fellow colleague on the board, Ms. Lucy Torres, for that uplifting opening prayer, we thank you. Our chairman, Ms. Esme Rollin Charles, for that very articulate and comprehensive, detailed report of our region, we want to say thank you. To our members of management team, in particular our finance manager and our commissioning manager, for those 2 reports. We want to say thank you for the information. We are well aware of what's happening at the Eastern region and where we are heading to. We want to thank our Chief Executive Officer for his astute leadership, his continued commitment to excellence. We thank you. Your presentation of achievements, of the strategic overview, of your projections for the future is really, really a reflection of the passion that you bear within you as you lead this region, the members of your team and our staff. And we can really see in the reflection of our reports and our presentation that caring has really become the key of our region. To our dear Deputy Chairman, Ms. Sasha Dabro, for standing on her feet all evening and doing an excellent job at the proceedings, chairing the proceedings and our interactive session, making sure everyone's answers and views were made mention about. We thank you very much. To all my fellow colleagues, the management executive team, all members of staff of the Eastern Regional Health Authority, thank you for your presence here and online, and thank you for your contribution today. Our specially invited guests, we are so happy to have you, to know that you are very much interested in our region and what is happening with our healthcare and our communities. We thank you for your presence here and your contribution. Today as we go with a lot of emotions because we have really explored what our experiences from our nurses were and our staff. And we need to remember that our health is our responsibility. And we need to create the healthy environment, and we need to take it. It's never too late to start. Today is a good day to start so that we'll be healthier and better prepared for whatever is ahead of us. Thank you very much and have a blessed afternoon.
Thank you for the wonderful vote of thanks. Of course, if anyone was omitted, that was not intentional. You have been thanked by someone greater than all of us here. Just some reminders. 10th of November, consultation on New Sangre Grande Hospital. 23rd of November, career fair. And we do have some light refreshments. Please partake and do arrive safely to your destinations. Thank you. See you next year.
Thank you.